We show removing the wiring harness, ECU, and shift linkage, and everything needed for the swap. Remove only what's needed for your swap. Remove battery. Remove ground from the valve cover. Remove the ECU. It's found underneath the carpet on the passenger side floorboard next to the glove box. Disconnect the wires from the fuse box. It's smart to put some bolts back where they go, so that way you don't lose them. Disconnect the engine wiring harness connectors. Use the tabs to remove the plugs from the holders. Push all wires to the side so they're out of the way. Removing the fuel line. When removing the fuel line from the fuel filter, release pressure from the system by loosening the top bolt. Have a rag handy to catch the excess, then remove the line by loosening the 18mm bolt from the fuel filter. Be careful of fuel pressure. Disconnect all hoses on the intake manifold. Remove fuel return. Disconnect the wire harness plugs on the driver's side. Unplug connectors from the radiator. Unbolt cruise control actuator, only if it's necessary. Remove slave cylinder hose line mount. While the ratchet's handy, go ahead and remove the tranny ground. Remove the clutch slave cylinder. Do not disconnect the pipe or the hose assembly. That way you don't have to bleed it when it's done. Drain radiator fluid. Disconnect all radiator hoses that connect to the motor. Drain tranny. Remove both front wheels. Remove the indent from the axle nut. Remove axle nut. Remove the lower control arm bolts. Remove the cotter pin. Disconnect lower arm ball joint. There's a ball joint removal tool for this application, but we didn't have one, so we used a hammer. Lift hub assembly from lower arm once loose. You can use a pry bar to remove the axles. Remove both axles. Removing header. Remove the heat shield. Remove the header. Remove bottom header bolts. Remove all brackets from the exhaust. Remove the catalytic converter. Remove bottom portion of header. Remove the top portion of the header. Loosen the adjustment bolt. Remove bolts for power steering pump bracket. Removing the shift linkage. Be careful to save all parts when removing the shift linkage. Remove the shift pin. Remove the shift knob. Lower shift linkage. Remove power steering pump and belt. Do not disconnect the power steering hose. Remove AC belt and compressor. Remove all brackets by power steering and AC. It's not required that you do this, but we do it just to make more room. Remove lower power steering bracket. Motor mount locations. Have a jack under the motor while removing the mounts. Remove radiator. Not necessary, but it makes it easier. Unbolt passenger side lower mount. Unbolt the rear engine mount. Make sure everything is disconnected. You can remove the AC line bracket to make it easier, but it's not required. Now hook up the chains. We use a leveler. It's not necessary, but it makes things easier. Attach the chain to the back of the head using a 14mm bolt. Make sure to tighten the bolt. Connect the second chain to the tranny. Unbolt the tranny mount. Remove upper transmission mount. Unbolt upper driver's side mount. Remove all mount bolts. Once all mounts are unbolted, then lower the motor. You can take the motor out from the top or the bottom. Our preference is the bottom. Lower motor onto a dolly. Once the motor is on the dolly, remove the chains and raise the car using the tow hooks. Raise the car until it's high enough to remove the motor. Before raising the car, make sure it's secured properly. Now where to install it.